You're overcompensating and you're wearing yourself out. On the outside, you look like everything is okay. To others, it appears that everything is just fine. You might even tell others that everything is okay. But on the inside, you are an emotional wreck. You are emotionally exhausted, stressed out, at the edge, because you are always doing extra, more than you need to do. Because at some point in your life, someone did something to you, said something to you that made you feel some type of way about yourself. You developed an identity, an idea, an image of yourself that wasn't good enough, that wasn't worthy of just being enough at whatever age and stage you were in your life. And so now you work harder than you need to. You go the extra mile. You bend so that others don't break. You are always on go mode, never knowing how to rest, never knowing how to lighten up, never knowing how to ease up on anything, including and most importantly, yourself. You don't give yourself slack. You don't know how to cut the engine off. You don't know how to rest physically, internally, emotionally. If that sounds like you, then today's episode, today's experience here in the I Am the Possible podcast is for you. Today, we're talking about lightening up on ourselves because the weight is killing us. And I say us because I identify, I know this struggle well. And I'm going to share with you some struggles of my own. I'm going to get extremely vulnerable and extremely transparent today. I'm going to share my story. And I'm going to share with you some things in terms of next steps that I believe that can help you to begin to lighten the load that you carry. If that sounds like you, then I want you to tune in, lean in, and stay with me. Welcome to the I Am the Possible podcast experience. All right, guys, let's get into it. I first want to start off by really kind of diving a little bit more into exactly what we're dealing with right now. And that is this overcompensation, this burden, this weight that we carry because we're trying to make up for, we're trying to fix all of these perceived failures, flaws, and faults. Those are the 3 F's that I've come up with. Failures, you feel like a failure because it's never good enough. You feel like a failure because every time you used to attempt something, someone would raise the bar. So you would never quite achieve whatever it is that was set out before you. So you build this idea that I'm a failure. And so one of the ways that you prove to yourself and to others that you're not a failure is by overachieving, overcompensating, doing too much, going the extra mile, perfecting or at least attempting to perfect things because you are afraid of being found out, that you're failing in an area of your life, that you're not perfect. And so it's a defense mechanism. But in this defense, we're draining the very life source from ourselves. And that's why, I really wanted to talk about lightening up on yourself because the weight is killing you. It's killing the life source that you were designed to express and to enjoy and to experience in this life. Faults. Faults is another one, right? It's always my fault. You build this idea about yourself because of what was done to you and said to you, or the experiences that you had, or the things that you witnessed. You develop this identity. It's always my fault. I know for myself growing up, sometimes trying to, or at least wanting to protect my mom. My mom for many years struggled with a drug addiction and alcoholism. and she was abused and misused by so many men. And it was at an age and stage in my life where I was too young to defend her. You guys were much older than me. I was a young guy. And so I wanted to step in. I wanted to defend my mom, but I couldn't. And so sometimes I would think to myself, because I'm not big enough, strong enough, able to rescue her, then it's my fault that these guys are able to abuse her. Or sometimes just in my own life, just because you're caught up in a particular situation, and you're doing life with other people, my wife, children, and you see them suffer in some type of way, or you see them have a situation in their lives that you wish you could have prevented. You start to feel like, well, it's my fault because I put you there, or it's my fault because I didn't do enough to ensure that you don't get into that situation. Whatever it is, whatever your story is, whatever your narrative is, at the end of the day, you're pointing the fingers at yourself. And then lastly, your flaws, which I'm going to share about today. Someone has done something to you or said something to you, and it's made you feel shame. It's made you feel less than. It's made you feel like there is something wrong with you. And when this happens, if you're anything like me, you obsess over it. It becomes your focus. And what happens with focus, right? Whatever we focus on, it gets bigger in our own mind where it actually matters. Doesn't matter if it's bigger in someone else's mind. It matters that it's big in my mind, your mind, because you are the holder of the perception. You're the holder of the perspective. And so you are the only one that has to suffer internally because you're holding on to that perceived flaw. And I say perceived because sometimes a flaw isn't let me say it this way. Sometimes flaws are not flaws until you make them flaws. Okay? Like they're not a problem until you deem that they're a problem. A lot of this stuff that we call flaws are distinctions. And I'll even dare say the word differences. Sometimes I don't like using the word difference because it has a negative connotation sometimes. Well, we're different. That's not even a negative term, to be honest. But sometimes we think of negative, or we put the word different in a negative tone. But different is just unique, special, one of a kind. Not like that. It's a contrast, right? It gives color and flavor to life. So I really wish our society didn't use the word different in a negative way. But however you name it, however you frame it, my point is this: the flaw isn't a flaw until you make it a flaw, right? Like it's just something. Like, for example, you could have like a pimple on your face. Inherently, that pimple on your face, it's a pimple on your face. Temporarily, I might add. That's all it is. It's a pimple on your face. But we can, at least like I came up growing up, right, in my neighborhoods, right? Kids were off the hook with it, right? Cruel. They come up with names, they pick at you, they point at it, they laugh, they mock you, they make fun of you. And now all of a sudden, you have adopted, I'm going to be breaking this down in just a moment. Now you've adopted all of this shame and all of this feeling some type of way about yourself because what they've done and what they've said. And it wasn't a flaw. It's what it is. It's a pimple on your face. Millions of people around the world have pimples on their faces, some small, some big. At the end of the day, it's a pimple. But you decide whether or not it's a flaw. I use that just as a common example, but I'm going to be sharing some bigger things that I wrestle with in my own life. But before I do that, I hope I've set the stage of kind of what we're going to be tackling today: the faults, the failures, and the flaws that have been perceived for so many years by you and I, and it has caused us to overachieve, overcompensate, do too much. And by doing too much, by overcompensating, by things never being enough, by us never being enough, we've worn ourselves thin. We're emotionally exhausted. We're tired on the inside. We keep up a good front on the outside. The outside looks good. The container looks good. But the content, the inside, the internal, we're falling apart. And that's what I want to address today. How do we start to not only look good on the outside, but feel good on the inside? Like actually be good. Like at some point, it has to be a new standard, a new value, that it's not good enough to pretend to be doing good. It's not good enough to pretend to be okay. It's time for us, you and I, to begin to walk in a true okayness, a true happiness, not the appearance, but the true application, the true experience, the true embodiment of this thing called happiness and joy and peace and fulfillment and contentment and satisfaction, right? Don't you want that? Like I want that, right? And we know that it's not all the time. It's not a consistent thing, but it should be more of our lives, more of our days than it's not. All right. So let me give you this quick example, man. I don't know if you guys know, I don't know if I've ever shared it on any of the other episodes, but I love this restaurant called Luna's. It's a Mexican, maybe like a high-end Mexican restaurant. Beautiful decor, beautiful menu, just a whole layout. It's just a beautiful situation. The food is amazing, right? And I forgot when we first got introduced to this, maybe when we were living out in Rancho Cucamonga. And I don't know if it was my birthday or if it was just a holiday, but somehow we found our way to Luna's for the very first time. Fell in love with it. But I remember one time going, my family and I, we went because it's a very popular place. So we went, we put our names down, and we were waiting to be called. And so I remember watching this little kid. And as I always say, stick with me, I'm going somewhere with this, right? So I was watching this little kid, and this little kid, I think his shirt was a little too short, so his little belly was showing. And it was like maybe like a 2 or 3 year old little guy, right? And he had on some pants where it was sagging, so his diaper was showing. And I just remember observing his liberation, his freedom. This little guy was just dancing and flipping and just putting on a show, man, for everybody who was waiting to be set. And I started to observe it, and what came over me was, my goodness, this dude is so free. Like he don't care that his shirt is too small. He don't care that his pants is hanging down, his diaper's showing. I think he had like a little drool or some food or something that was stuck to his shirt. My boy did not care about any of that. He was right in the middle of this nice high-end restaurant in front of at least a dozen of us, total strangers, living his best life. And I remember thinking to myself, wow, those were the days. Those were the days when we were free of everyone's opinion, everyone's ideas of us, of how life was supposed to be, how we were supposed to behave, all of the limitations that people would, put on us, all of the restraints. Don't do this, don't do that. You got to have this, you got to have that. I remember, and this is just off the top of the cuff, like top of mind, off the cuff rather. I remember one year, and I won't drop any names, but I remember one year going to church. This is more recent, like in the last 10 years or so. But I remember going to church one time, and I forgot what month it was. Maybe it was right when we're moving from one season to the next. But I remember a brother in the Lord said to me, because I was wearing a certain kind of material, and I guess it was spring. I guess we were moving into spring, or we were moving into something else. I don't recall all the specifics because I don't get into that. That's like life's minutia. I just don't really care about those things. I don't play by those rules, right? But I remember him saying like, "Oh, you can't be wearing that no more. It's springtime. And now we have to switch over to linen, or we have to switch over to polyester." I don't know what it was, but my point is that's like an example that just came to mind of that little guy was so free of stuff like that. Like, oh, it's April, so you have to put away all of your cotton and you have to wear linen, only linen. Like, what? What? What are you saying to me, man? Like, really? And then you have co-signers. I think my wife co-signed them, and some other folks co-signed, right? It was just the craziest thing. But it's like, yo, let me do me. But that's not what society does. Society doesn't let you do you. At least it doesn't try to. Today, we're going to be talking about empowering ourselves by making a conscious acknowledgement, a conscious choice to do our own thing on every level in life. Not just some areas, not just some levels, not just some things, freaking every level of your life. You should be free to do you to a degree, obviously, right? Depending on where you are and with whom you are, maybe there's some things that you should maybe adopt because of the setting. I get that. What I'm talking about is what we're talking about, this burden that we carry around because we have this idea of ourselves that we are failures, we're full of flaws, and it's always our fault. That mess, is time out for that. That's what I want to address. It's time out for that, carrying that weight, carrying that burden into every situation, on your job, in your relationship, with your husband, with your wife, with your kids, right? Always walking around with that junk, up in church with that junk, doing life with God with that junk, always trying to condemn and criticize yourself because of what others have said or done to you. And I keep stressing that because that's going to be a part of the steps that I'm going to give you. But back to the story. Watching this little guy was moving around, dancing and whatnot with his little stuff on. And again, man, it was just the darndest thing. He was so free. He was so free. And I was just like, wow, the world hadn't gotten to him yet. The world hadn't gotten to him. They didn't put the limitations, the limitations, the labels, the stigmas, the dogma, the propaganda. It hadn't gotten to the little man yet. And so he was still free. And that's what I envision for us as adults. And maybe this doesn't align with the scripture, but I remember when Jesus said, unless you become like one of these little guys, you don't get to see the kingdom. You don't get to see how God really does things. And maybe, just maybe, seeing the kingdom of God, the best of the best, the great of the great, the most awesome life possible, kingdom life, life as the king, life in the presence, life in the posture, life in the possession of God's truth concerning us. Maybe the key to that is being as free as that little guy, not having a care in the world about what other people were thinking, because the concept was he was doing it in front of all of us. And he didn't know or care. He was oblivious to whatever was going through our minds. If I was judging him, he didn't know nothing about it. And what if we could live in such a way that if even if people were judging us, even if people had something to say, even if people always just on our backs about stuff, even if people point fingers at us, even if people label us, we don't care nothing about it. Oh my God, what kind of life? What kind of life would you live? What would you be free to do? Lighten up. The weight is killing you. The weight has been killing me. And I'm learning day by day to let it go. Let it go. Lighten up. Lighten up. Lighten up. Before I get into sharing a few of my struggles and then these steps, let me just pause for the cause. And here it is. You are the only one that's going to ever do this for you. Others won't do it. You are extremely fortunate if you have one person in your life that will entertain your presence and figure out a way to not impose any of their beliefs and values upon you. You would be extremely fortunate. What I want to encourage you to understand, if you don't hear nothing else, this is a gift to yourself from yourself. Letting all those failures, flaws, faults go is a gift to yourself. Perhaps one of, if not the greatest gift that you can give yourself. Now, I said I was going to share some of my struggles. Coming up, I think around maybe 5, 6, I want to say certainly around age 7 was when I really knew and I could understand it. Might have been a little sooner than that, but at least by age 7, I had began to stutter. And I had began to stutter as I go through therapy. The root cause is still kind of up for debate, but I think part of it was seeing my mother abused physically, seeing the drug use and the alcoholism in my family, being bullied, being picked on, being isolated, being abused emotionally, sexually. I think that led to a lot of trauma internally that manifested or was acted out through the stuttering. Because when I think about stuttering, I think about the inability to speak, the inability to express oneself, to articulate, the inability to have a voice, to have say. And as I work with my therapist and as I go back through my history, one of the things that I've battled as an adult is feeling like I can say no, feeling like I have autonomy, feeling like I can make choices regardless of how it might make someone else feel. That's where the people pleasing comes in. And so I think that was the root of it, was seeing so much drama and trauma being experienced as a young man that I didn't feel like I had any say. Seeing my mother abused, I would always want to run to the rescue, but I couldn't. I was too small. These guys were high off cocaine and alcohol, and they were just bigger than me in general. As a little guy, it was just nothing I could do. But I always wanted to rescue her, but I just couldn't rescue her. Always had that desire, but it wasn't in the cards for me. Always wanted to speak up, but I would be pushed to the side. And then when I began to stutter, I was picked on about it. I was isolated because I felt alone. I had no one else in my circle that stuttered. I felt like the only one. And then people shamed me on top of it, made fun of me and picked on me about it. And so, you overcompensate. God's given me a gift of teaching, and that can be a gift and a curse. I won't go down the rabbit hole on this, but just to say, on the positive side, I can articulate information, ideas in a way that people can understand it and comprehend it. It's an amazing gift that God's given me, and I'm grateful for it. On the other side, I can over-explain and talk someone's head off. I can over-stress, if that's the right term. I can just stress too much. I can go down the rabbit hole for hours in my own head and with other people. Basically, I can overcompensate because I want to be heard, understood. I want to make sure that you understand what I'm saying. And so maybe all wrapped up in that, I over communicate. Even doing the podcast, I look back at some of my episodes and I say, man, you could have just said it once and been done with it. And so even in my own way, I over communicate. Is it always a bad thing? I don't know. But I'm trying to let you in. I'm trying to let you see me and the things that I wrestle with and struggle with. Because on the back end, by over communicating, sometimes in my mind, I never say it quite the right way. I never say enough. Did I say enough? Did I explain myself? Did they understand me? That's an internal struggle. It's an emotional wrestling match. That's why I say we struggle in the same ways. We suffer in the same ways. Is any of this hitting home for you? Maybe it's not stuttering, but it's something else. And I'll be sharing more and more of my struggles. But I want to just share that one for today. I'm going to continue to share them throughout all of the episodes going forward. But that was one that I just wanted to share to make a point that as that little guy was dancing around in front of us, not a care in the world, when I started to stutter, I didn't know that stuttering was necessarily bad until someone pointed it out, until someone made fun of me, until, and I won't drop any names, but caretakers would lightweight mock me or have a problem with it. And as I look back at it, I say to myself, wow, like how the hell did you have a problem with me stuttering? I'm the one that's stuttering. I'm the one that doesn't, speak like everyone else. I'm the one that can't get a word out without getting tongue tied. I'm the one that's taken 2 hours to say a sentence. I'm the one that's petrified every time I'm in school and they have you stand up to read from the book or something like that, or to, stand up in front of class and, recite something or whatever. It's like, I'm the one that's being tormented because of this. And I had even my own caretakers just pile on, man. So that's sort of where I've been with it, man. And so I want to share some steps. Okay. Let me get to the steps part because I'm going to switch my screen, not where you can see it, but just, I want to make sure that I have my notes in front of me. Okay. Got my notes in front of me. Perfect. So the first thing that I wanted to share was, for all of my faith folks, remember Genesis 3? Remember, right? Genesis 1, creation, right? Everything being put into place. Genesis 2, everything continuing to be put into place. Genesis 3, the introduction to the idea that there was something not so perfect, complete, whole about us. In Genesis 3, there was an introduction, and I will not claim, nor do I care to claim, that I know all the historical facts and biblical facts and yada, yada, yada. I don't know all that. The Greek and the Hebrew and the Aramaic and the all I know, man, is life seemed to be pretty doggone good in Genesis 1 and in Genesis 2. But at some point in history, somehow, some way, we got introduced to an idea that there was something not so okay about us. And we entertained it. And we accepted it. And we adopted it. And we began to live out of that perception, out of that flawed, failed, fault-filled perception of ourselves. Let me break it down for you in 5 seconds. The serpent, Satan, Satan, the devil, however you name it and frame it, do you. That thing, okay? Some people even call it the ego. Not here to judge what you believe, but that thing presented to us, hey, if you eat that, you will be more, because without eating that, you don't have everything you could have. Boom, that was a setup. Something's missing, something's not right, something's not what, I can have more, I can do what, there's more for me, there's more of me that can be realized. Oh, and this is just my sanctified imagination of what's going on within Eve, what's going on within Adam, right? It's just, there's more to be had. Okay, great. Take of whatever that fruit was, eyes open. The first thing that ever happened, according to the story, was a recognition, an acknowledgement, a revealing of something different about us. They noticed they were naked. And from that moment on, when they noticed something about them, they then did. Oh, flaw on me, I need to do. As we've preached a million times, they were naked before, they were naked after. What was the difference? Their perception of the nakedness. That little guy in the restaurant, dancing fancy free, baby. Dancing in his nakedness. Right? But no one had pointed out anything to be wrong with his nakedness. But we then did something to gain something, saw something about ourselves, and then the rat race began. The carrot that we can never catch begins. The overcompensation, the doing, the chasing, the achievements, the ambition, the goals, the dreams, the visions, the more, but it's never enough. It's never enough. I'm never enough. It's never enough. Nothing's ever enough. The moment that we saw something less than within ourselves. This is why I teach so much about the self-concept and the communication, the conversations that we have with ourselves, right? And so that began, and according to the scriptures, man looked at himself, saw nakedness, hid. God came back. Where you been? I was hiding because I was naked. I heard you. And then it was this separation from God. It was a separation from themselves. It was a separation from one another. Because when God, hey, man, who told you were naked? What'd you do? Well, this woman that you gave me. So it was like issue with her. God, I'm hiding from you. Issue with you. And I'm naked, so I'm hiding and I'm covering myself. Naked with, not naked, but issue with me. The trifecta. Issue with our creator, issue with others within our society, within our culture, and an issue with myself. I just always point back to that. It's a very interesting story. It's a very interesting narrative. But it all began with a conversation about there being something not quite so okay, not quite so enough about ourselves. And so the seed was sown, and so the tree continues to flourish. So how do we chop it at the root? I'll give you some steps. Number one, I want you to name whatever it is in your life, the failure, the flaw, the fault, whatever that thing is for you. Maybe you need to take some time, go for a walk, take some time, cut all the electronics off, sit down with a pen and pad, and name it. You can't change what you don't name. Name what it is. Whether it's, I'm never enough for my wife because I overcompensate on my job because I don't feel like I'm being a good enough dad because whatever that thing is, acknowledge it, write it out, name it, put it on paper, capture it so that you can continue to revisit it, so that you can continue to have it in front of you when the challenges come, when the difficulties come, that you'll be able to refer to it and you'll be able to go through these various steps again. Number two, I'm just going back to my notes. Number two, I want you to acknowledge and accept the fact that you gained this perception of yourself at a time when you didn't know any better. Usually this stuff got developed as a child. Okay, it usually in most cases in our formative years, in our younger years, that's when the seed gets sown, and then we play it out in our adult years. And unless there's an interruption, whether it's through your faith community, therapy, some other life experience, unless there's a break in the pattern, then that's just what we believe reality is. And so You want to acknowledge the fact that you developed, you accepted, you adopted these ideas about yourself at a time that you didn't have the cognitive capacity, you didn't have the language, the knowledge, the skills to deal with it and to address it. Even if you were a young adult and some things happened and it made you feel some type of way, you still didn't have the language, you still didn't have the capacity, you still didn't have the information that you needed to address it. And this is not a cop-out nor an excuse. It sets you up for step number 3. But you need to first acknowledge, hey man, this got to me, this got on me at a time when I wasn't equipped. I wasn't empowered. I wasn't educated. I didn't have enough information available to me. I did the best I could do. That's a powerful statement. I did the best I could do with what I knew at the time. Do you know how powerful that is? That's not an excuse. That's not a cop-out. That's just that's as we say, that's facts. You did the best you could do with the information you had at the time. So acknowledge that. And now acknowledge that you have new information. Now acknowledge that you've been exposed to new information, new ideas, new concepts, insight concerning this thing. And now you can begin to say, those failures, those flaws, those faults, those are someone else's. The person that said that to you when you were a kid, that person that did that to you when you were a child, that's their issue. That's their problem. You don't have to own it anymore. You don't have to accept it anymore. You don't have to keep it anymore. It's like a child. You adopt a child, right? Parents, if you're a parent that's listening and you've ever gone through that process, when you adopt a child, you're willingly taking in another living being, another human, and you're accepting responsibility for that human until they're an adult, right? Like you're taking responsibility is really what I want to focus on. You're taking in responsibility for something, get this, something someone else created. When you adopt a child, there were 2 other people that created that child. And by unfortunate circumstances, the child ended up in a home or, foster care, whatever it is. And you, for whatever reason, you're in a position now where you adopt that child, you bring that child into your care, but someone else created that child. And the same is true. And in the same way, these failures, faults, failures, flaws, and faults, they're someone else's. Someone else created them, and you've adopted them. And you need to acknowledge that if I adopted them, I can now, not in the real example, right? Not with the children. You don't want to do that with the children, right? Unless it calls for it. But if I could bring you in the home, then I can return to sender. I can release you. If I can receive you, I can release you. I can take you back to the home. I've never been in the adoption, I've never been in that scenario. So I don't know legally how it all works, but I'm pretty sure that if you adopt a child and you no longer can care for that child, it would make sense that you could return that child back to the foster home. Because ultimately the city and the state has funding and it has laws and everything to protect the child. If you don't want to continue to be responsible, there are some things that are set up to where you can return the child. In the same way, I want you to acknowledge that you can return to sender, that you can return what you've previously accepted and adopted. Return to sender, man. Articulate with clarity, consciousness, your choice to return to sender. Will you need to do therapy Possibly. Will you need to take some of my courses or something? Possibly. Will you need to get a coach like me in your life to help you walk through some of these things and to further unpack some of these things? Probably. But what I'm giving you today is a simple 3-step process that you can begin with. There's only so much I can share and do within this podcast platform. Some of this is some deep inner work, but I hope and believe that by me sharing this information, that it sparks the necessary whatever within you to move forward in whatever ways you need to, whether it's getting a therapist, whether it's getting a coach, whether it's, whatever, seeking your, advice from your pastor, best friend, whatever it is. It should move you toward action. If nothing else, just literally taking the 3 steps that I'm outlining. Step number 1, naming all of your sources of these failures and failures, flaws, and faults. Okay, that's not a stuttering. That's just 3 F's that you just keep saying over and over and over. But right. So having those, writing them out, the sources of those. Why do I always feel like a failure? Why am I overcompensating? Why do I, obsess over my flaws, right? My perceived flaws. And are they actually flaws? Like, write them all out, write it all out, write it all out, process this. There's no perfect way to do it. Just get into the habit of processing, journaling, writing this stuff out, and then making those 2 acknowledgments. Number 1, when I developed this junk about me, I wasn't equipped to deal with it. And then number 2, you're choosing to give yourself grace. Hey, you're having that conversation with yourself because you're choosing to craft a new concept of yourself. So you're also choosing to have a better and a quality conversation with yourself. So now you're saying, hey, I'm choosing to let go of these failures, these flaws, these faults. So the conversation is now I'm choosing to have a conversation with myself to where I say, okay, I'm letting these things go back to the sender. I'm letting these things go back to the sender. I don't have to carry them anymore. That's what they said. That's what they did. And it's not for me to own anymore. So the weight, the burden, the pressure to perform, to perfect, to people please, to overdo it, the weight, the burden, the pressure of that gets lighter and lighter and lighter and lighter and lighter. Because you start to realize I'm carrying something that I took on because I didn't have the information I needed at the time, but now I'm getting the information I need to then let it go. Yeah, I think I've said that in enough ways and enough times. So I'm gonna let it go. So see, over communicating, but I'm glad that you're able to see it in real time and you're able to go on this journey with me as I'm going on the journey with you. All right. So hope and pray that that all made sense and that it has added value. And a few more things that I want to remind you of as I close it down. Number 1, please subscribe to this podcast. If you've not done so already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel if you have not done so already. If you're listening on a podcast platform and you've not subscribed to the tube, you should be listening and watching on the tube, then please do so. iAMthepossible YouTube channel. Just type that in, iAMthepossible. Go to the latest episode and subscribe, like, and share, and leave comments and leave questions. Interact. Let me know that you heard it. Let me know if it added value. Let me know what you got from it. All right. Number 2, share it with others. Word of mouth is still the best marketing on the planet. And I believe in what I'm doing, and I believe that what I'm doing helps. So please share this with other people. You can forward the email if you're on my email list and you get this through email. You can forward the email to friends and family that may be in need of this information. Or you can, copy the little URL or something like that and text it to a friend or a family member. Whatever, however you do it, share it with someone that you believe might benefit from today's episode. All right. And then lastly, or actually not lastly, one more thing. Next, I want you to submit questions. If you have any questions, if you're on a podcast platform, it's the very top button in the description. You can click that button and you can submit questions, and I will create full podcast episodes based on your question. I've got 2 in the queue right now that I'm working on, and I'm going to be answering those questions. And so I want to fill up the queue. I'm going to keep the queue full. So submit your questions, anything that I shared today, or any other topic that you want me to cover, or that you're wondering about, you're wondering my perspective on it, or how I would approach it. Drop your questions. They are anonymous. I don't get your full name. I don't get your house address, your social security number, anything like that. It's anonymous. So I don't know who you are. It gives me what your question is, and I think maybe it gives me like your city or state. That's all the information that I get. Okay. So even I don't know who you are. So you don't need to feel shamed or embarrassed for leaving questions. So please do that. Any podcast platform, that link is in the show notes. All right. And then lastly, you can support this mission, this ministry, this movement, the things that I'm doing. This, obviously this thing takes money to put this on. All of the software, all of the back end stuff, all of the technology that I utilize, the various subscriptions that I have to create this platform. And so if you want to support me, all right, that's something that I've had a hard time asking for. But if you are interested in supporting this podcast, there's also a link in the show notes for you to support. It can be as little as $1 a month, $5 a month, $10 a month. You name it. You make your own monthly subscription to just sow into this work, to sow into this ministry. I'm not one that's going to tell you, sow into this and God's going to give you $1 million tomorrow. In Jesus' name, you sow and you grow, and you sow and you know that God's going to show up. That's not my flow. Here's my flow. Charity is a part of life. If you see someone doing work that you believe in, you can partner with them financially to help serve and support as they serve and support. Period. Dot. That's it. So if you want to help me to pay for the production of this podcast, you can do so. You can partner with me and support me financially, and that lifts a burden financially off of me. And that's really the end of it. I mean, there's no sales pitch. I just want to offer that and make that known to anyone who might be interested in supporting me financially. I would greatly appreciate it. And you can set that up at the link in the description on YouTube and or any podcast platform that you're watching this on. All right. So that's it, man. I love you guys. I'm praying for you guys. I believe in you guys. Until next time, guys, continue, please, to understand, to activate, to articulate, to meditate on the fact that the better you can relate to yourself, the better you can create for yourself. Today was all about relating just better to yourself. Remember that little guy dancing? When the world starts telling him what he can't do, shouldn't wear, shouldn't say, shouldn't go, shouldn't look like, shouldn't sound like, shouldn't be like, the relationship that he has with himself, unfortunately, it's going to take a hit. And I pray that little guy, just like all the other little guys and little gals around the world that are being born even now, that they would be given an opportunity to come into the information that they need about themselves to begin to counteract and to reverse engineer all of that bad programming. It happens to us all. So, yeah. Yep. Relate better to yourself. Create better for yourself. And most importantly, those around you. God bless you.
Thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe, like, comment, and share. For more information, visit me at iamthepossible.com.